Thanks for joining me on episode 353 of the Inspired Stewardship Podcast.
I challenge you to invest in yourself, invest in others, develop your influence, and impact the world by using your time, your talent, and your treasures to live out your calling. Having the ability to really find your gifts and calling is a key. And one way to be inspired to do that is to listen to this, the Inspired Stewardship Podcast by my friend Scott Mader.
Habit and routine can be our friend when it comes to avoiding procrastination, but habit and routine can also be a source of procrastination if you haven't really thought about and created habit and routine that is good for you and supports your ability to get things done.
Welcome and thank you for joining us on the Inspired Stewardship Podcast. If you truly desire to become the person who God wants you to be, then you must learn to use your time, your talent, and your treasures for your true calling. In the Inspired Stewardship Podcast, you will learn to invest in yourself, invest in others, and develop your influence so that you can impact the world.
In today's episode about impacting the world by stewarding your time, I talk with you about how procrastination is our enemy, why habit and routine can help you avoid procrastination, and why, despite that, you're still going to procrastinate.
As we talk about stewarding your time, wouldn't it be great if you could support this podcast and do it without just taking too long? Turns out you can't. All you have to do is use inspiredstewardship.com/Amazon when you're ready to make a purchase via Amazon, and a small commission will come back to support the show just that quick. If you enjoy the show when you are ready to buy from Amazon, just use inspiredstewardship.com/Amazon.
I've been meaning to do an episode about procrastination for a while, but I just kept putting it off. That is a joke, obviously, but it really isn't. How often do you find yourself saying that you meant to do something or you've been planning on doing something, but you've just been putting it off? You've been procrastinating. You haven't gotten around to it. You're going to do it soon. You're going to start your side hustle. You're going to start your new business. You're going to read that book. You're going to go to that meeting. You're going to do that difficult work that you've been putting off and delaying. You're going to clean your room. You're going to do the laundry. Whatever it is that you find yourself just constantly putting off. And the truth is that procrastination is something that all of us deal with at some level. We all have this enemy in our mind where we have a tendency to put things off, to not do them now when it's relevant and important and able to be done, but instead to get distracted, to get enamored with the next shiny object, to get turned on by some new idea and start looking for a way to go do that instead, to even just sit down and need to rest and veg so that you don't actually get started on the difficult work at all. Procrastination is something that holds us back from making an impact. The truth is that there are things that you are called to do. There are people that you're called to build relationships with. There are people who you are called to serve in a unique way that is just yours. And if you don't step forward and do it, those people never hear that message. They never make that connection. They never have that relationship. They never have that opportunity to be helped by you. And you may be the only person that could resonate with them in such a way as to be able to help them. And by procrastinating, you're actually stealing that opportunity from those people. You're actually taking from them the opportunity to be helped, to be served by you in a way that may actually change their entire life. I bet you've never thought of procrastination that way. Procrastination is a form of thievery, is a form of stealing the gifts that you have, the gifts that God has given you, and stealing them from other people so that they never actually get served at all because you weren't there to serve them. And yet that's what procrastination is. And by the way, that's even procrastination on things that don't necessarily directly have to do with your calling. Because when you procrastinate about doing some of the more mundane tasks, it builds a habit of procrastination. But when you manage to train your brain and your system to actually do the work when you want to do it, then all of a sudden it gets easier to do all of the work. This is why habit and routine can begin to help you avoid procrastination. Having things like a good morning routine and a good evening routine and a good work startup routine where you know when and how to begin the day each and every day. And you've got these things set up as a habit where I just do it. I just get up in the morning and this is what I do, and I do it every day, and I don't even have to think about it. It becomes almost like autopilot. That can help you avoid procrastination because you don't have to think. It's autopilot. It's just going to be what you do. You just get up and you do the job. Habit and routine can be our friend when it comes to avoiding procrastination. But habit and routine can also be a source of procrastination if you haven't really thought about and created habit and routine that is good for you and supports your ability to get things done. And that's what happens to most of us. We just kind of go through life and we form a set of habits and patterns and routines that we just execute over and over again, but we never actually think about them. We never actually create a set of habits and routines that work for us instead of against us. And if we don't do that hard work of really establishing habits and routines that are the ones that we want, then we end up with just the habits and routines that we form by default, which more often than not end up reinforcing our pattern of procrastination rather than actually breaking it or keeping us from it. And I want to let you in on another little truth, a secret one. You know, even if you have done everything that you can do to develop your productivity and your habits and your routines so that they are the best that they can be, even if you have set everything up perfectly, you've created the right environment, you've created the right rewards, you've created the right systems and processes so that you can just get things done, and you are one of the most productive people on the planet, you're still going to procrastinate from time to time. There's still going to be days where it just doesn't work. There's still going to be days where you look up after an hour and go, have I really been on YouTube watching kitten videos for the last hour? How did that happen to me? Did I really get sucked into the Facebook news feed for an hour? How did that happen to me? I know better than this. Because the real truth is that there are tons of systems and processes set up around us that are designed to pull us into those, to pull us into living in those instead of thinking and reacting and acting in a deliberate manner. And when you get sucked into one of those little rabbit holes, the trick is to notice it and to not let it become a regular occurrence, but instead it becomes an isolated occurrence that happens every once in a while. I'm a pretty productive person. I've set up a lot of really good systems. That's why I teach others how to do it, because I know how to use your mindset and systems and processes to help you achieve productivity. But the thing about all of that is, even still, there's days when it just doesn't work. And that happens to all of us. So acknowledging that and forgiving yourself for that and not beating yourself up for that helps you move forward more effectively and in general learn to not procrastinate and maximize your impact. Thanks for listening.
Thanks so much for listening to the Inspired Stewardship Podcast. As a subscriber and listener, we challenge you to not just sit back and passively listen, but act on what you've heard and find a way to live your calling. If you like this episode on the stewardship of time, be sure to sign up for our Stewardship of Time Tips series by going to inspiredstewardship.com/time or texting 44222 Time Tips, and that'll get you our best tips on stewarding your time. Until next time, invest your time, your talent, and your treasures. Develop your influence and impact the world.